Let's start with this one right here. That shouldn't be easy. There's like a few words that are going to make it easier for you to do it. Um, it says the net of a cylinder is shown below. What is the approximate lateral area of the cylinder represented by the net? In case you forgot, whenever you get a 3D shape and you expand it, like you open it up like a big box, whatever you get, that's called a net. So that is the net of a cylinder. We're looking for the lateral area specifically, nothing else. We don't want the total surface area, just lateral area. And for that, we know that we have to find the perimeter of the base times the height, right? That's all we need. But it's a cylinder, meaning the base is a circle. Guys, for those of you who are still thinking about your girlfriends or your boyfriends or whatever it is, I know this is the time in life when you want to, everything is about the boy or the girl, and your heart is so blah, blah, blah. Do not let that take you down, because that boy's going to be gone probably next year, I promise you. The turnover at this age is not good. That's true. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm recording. But but all of you need to understand that. You need to focus on what's important now, and it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, which is your education. Those boys will come and leave, and you get more, and
Oh, you get more.
y'all you're not even in high school yet. But anyway, so anyway, for this would be circumference. I need your attention. I hope this got your attention now. Multiply it by the height. How do I find the circumference of that figure? I said circumference. Pi times diameter, right? I know, but I keep hearing somebody else saying times r squared. This could be pi times r times 2, not times r, because r times 2 gives me diameter, right? So that would work, but it will not work if you square the r. Do not square the r for the circumference. Let me say this again. Do not square the r for the circumference. We only do it for the area. Circumference is, I want you to focus just on the diameter because it makes it easier. Yeah. Yes. Well, you're supposed to ask these things in mathematics. Yeah. Here, this is the reason why. Because in order for you to find the, how do I explain it? In order for you to find the circumference of a circle, you need to get the diameter. And most of the time, they give you the radius, right? So to find the diameter, you multiply it by 2 to get it, right? If you were to grab this and double it, and then double it and add it one more time, and then a little bit more, which is about 0.14 of the beginning, that whole line will be equal to the whole distance around that circle. But we use the diameter. If you do r times r, that's going to give you something else, which is the area of it. It'll be a completely different number. It'll be 3.5 times 3.5, which is completely different than that. Yes, or I want you to just think diameter. Diameter. Diameter is twice the radius, right? So whenever you're looking for circumference, I would advise you not to even think about this. Because if you remember that it's pi times diameter, you automatically know I'm not squaring anything. I just need the diameter, right? And that's it. So when we get this 3.14 times diameter, what is diameter? 7. And then times the height. What is the height? That should give me the lateral area. And what do y'all get? It says approximate. That means you can round. And that will round that. Well, this will round that to nothing. This will round that to 8, right? The answer is D. And that's it. And you could have put that in the calculator very easily without having to do any additional calculations. Do we have any questions on this? Yes. No, the formula for the lateral area is perimeter times height. But because we're talking about perimeter, that was so unnecessary. But because we were talking about a circle, we look for the perimeter, for the circumference, right? It's a particular name given to the perimeter of the circle. It is still the same thing. Do we understand that part? Do we have any questions on this? If you still have problems with it, I don't highly advise you. I need you to go back, not go back, but go to IXL and practice on this on your own. I'm going to give them to you as a bell ringer for the rest, for the next 3 weeks, just to reinforce them and make sure you're getting them right. But we're not going to go back to teaching those things. All right, let's move on. If you have your homework, take it out and swap with your neighbor. Look, we're in Texas. I can say y'all, and that's perfectly fine. I still say y'all when I was in y'all when I was in New York.
New York?
Yeah.
Were you a model?
No. Okay. How many of you thought the homework was very difficult? Look around. All right. I'm gonna bring. Okay, good. I get it. A couple of you. Hang on, but I'm gonna make you not make you understand, but I'll bring back the concepts that we learned previously, which were linear equations, and you realize how easy this is because you already did it. I'm just adding one additional part to it. That's actually just an additional name to it. But let's begin. Let's read the problem and then try to figure it out. It says Derek's dog sitting and Darlene's dog sitting are competing for a new business. The companies ran the ads shown, these right here with the doggies. Write and solve an equation to find the number of hours for which the total cost would be the same for the two services. Now, we know we're talking about linear relationships, right? So whenever we create a linear equation, do not forget that we're talking about y equals mx plus b. We did this so many times that you should not have a problem, right? You should be able to get all the information from there and plug it in. What variables do we need to find? X. Not yet for this. M and what else? And B, right? That's what we need for now. M and B. For Derek's dog sitting, what will be the M? Hello? For Derek, what is the M? 5x. Can somebody explain to me why 5 is the M? Tabaria. Per hour. That's right. So the keyword is per. That means that's the one that's going to change depending on how many hours your dog's sitting, right? What about the 12? Does that change? That's correct. It stays. That is B. It's like a flat fee. You just pay that to go get the dog, and it won't change whether you dog sit for 1 hour or the whole day. That is a one-time fee, and it's a flat fee. It doesn't change. That's where that's B. What about for Darlene's? And the same thing applies to her, so I'm not going to go much into that. We're going to grab those two equations and bring them over to the next thing to see what we're going to do with them. I don't want, I'm too lazy. Okay, so it was y equals, what? Hang on. I'm going to put them separately, and now because some kids are probably confused, like they don't know what they're supposed to do. Here's a keyword. It says, write and solve an equation to find the number of hours for which the total cost for both of them will be the same. The same is the keyword. When I'm talking about, when I compare something, how do I put them? Visually speaking, I put them next to each other, right? To compare them, how they look like or what the values are and all those things. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the first equation, 5x plus 12, and set it equals to the other equation, and I want to know what I'm going to get. Yes. You can start with a 3x plus 18 on one side, and it doesn't matter because the equal sign says they're equal. It doesn't matter where they are. As long as they all stay together, like as long as all of these right here stay together and these stay together, I can swap them any way I want. It doesn't matter.
So if you swap them, you'll still get.
Yes, because that sign tells me that all of this is equal to all of that. What you cannot do is grab one of these things and then just because you want to put it over here. That's a different story. I'm taking one weight out of one side of the balance and put it on the other one. It'll be imbalanced. So let's start with this. Basically, I wrote over here one thing last time. IO. Inverse operation, and I drew a line in the middle to remind you that those are two different things. If you want to move stuff around, you must do inverse operation. Basically, that number, as soon as you want to put it on the other side, it'll run into inverse operation, and you have to do the opposite, right? So the first thing that I wanted you to do, in multiple step equations, the first step is to put all the variables together. Where are the variables? Which the x's, right? So you have 5x on the one side and 3x on the other side. How do we get the x from the left, from the right to the left?
You cross them out.
You can't cross them out. What are you doing? You cancel it out by using inverse operation, right? 3x, is it positive or negative? What is the opposite? So we do -3, and we must do it to both sides to keep it balanced, right? Do not forget that. That goes away, and this gives me 2x, right? That comes down to 12x, and now we have 2x plus 12 equals 18. At this point, it's now a two-step equation. In that setup, we call it a two-step equation. And for this one, I don't like to do that stuff. But anyway, for my regular kids, when I show them two-step equations, the first step was to either add or subtract, and the second was to multiply or divide. And I want you to notice what I'm doing here. In your situation, I'm going to have to change it. I'm sorry. Because you have a first step, which is to combine the variables. That means this will be your second step and your third step. Are we good? When I write the number 2 and I put add or subtract, I literally mean you can only add or subtract, nothing else. When I write the third step and I say you can multiply or divide, I literally mean those are the only things that you can do. Do we understand that part? So right now we're on the second step and it says I must add or subtract. And like I told you before, if we're walking into a hallway and I have two doors, one that is adding, one that's subtracting, by looking at this equation, which door is already locked? The adding, because it's already in use, right? So what door can I get through only? Subtract. That means I can only subtract. I cannot add because it's already busy, right? So I must subtract then 12 from each side. Again, this tells me I can only add or subtract. So if it's already adding, then I can only subtract, right? Otherwise, I cannot move forward. Now that we have that, this goes away. We end up with 2x, and that gives me 6, right? Now I'm on the third step, which says you can only multiply or divide. Again, we have two doors. Which door is already locked? The multiplication. So what do? I can only go through the division door. So you divide on both sides, and you get x equals 3. It's a very easy way to do it. If you notice, I try to add a little story to it because it's easy to remember than saying you must do inverse operation with this and this. I have to kind of add it to it. And again, I want you to write the numbers here. For this one, you just combine. Yeah. I need you not to do those things because it's not going to work every single time. Again, I do this so you can go and review them, but I cannot change your mind every single day. It's really hard. So again, the first step is to combine the variables. It could be x, it could be j, it could be k, it could be anything, right? Any letter. So I'm not going to put x. For the second step, you either add or subtract. For the third step, you're going to either multiply or divide, and then you get your answer, which is x equals 3. What does that mean? What does the X represent in this story? The hours, right? That means that in 3 hours, when these people dog shit for 3 hours, the cost will be exactly the same, right? I hope I did that right. I think I did.
So the first one,
Oh, here? On the first one, you combine the variables. On the second step, you add or subtract. On the third step, you multiply or divide. It's only 3 steps. And you can even put them on your fingers. Whatever's there. Look at it. 2x plus 12 equals 18. If I tell you you can add or subtract and you do an inverse operation, what are you going to do? What is the goal, guys? To find the value of x, right? That means I need to get rid of whatever is around x. So I wouldn't mess with the 18, right? I don't care about the 18. I want the 12 and the 2 to go away so I can have x by itself. Do we understand that part? I didn't choose 3x. That's what I got as an answer. From here. Because it says combine variables. And I want all my variables on this side. I'll tell you why later, because whenever we get to inequalities, it'll be important to have the variables on the left side. Yes, even if you get a negative answer, that's fine. You'll be fine. But I want you to have the variables on the left side for the beginning. Otherwise, it'll be very confusing whenever you get to inequalities. No, only the variables on the right side cancel out. Like the idea, the reason why we do inverse operation is to get rid of these things, right? Yeah, and then they get rid of for that one over there, and then we get rid of this one right here. That's the whole idea of inverse operation. You want to get rid of the additional stuff so you can end up with the value of x. Are we all following? Good. Okay, so you might wonder, well, did I get that right answer? The only way to find out is by going back and testing it. So x equals 3. All you have to do is go back in here and plug it in. I know you did, but I want you to do it this way for now. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 22? Plus 12, I'm sorry? What do you get? Oh my goodness, you have a calculator. 27. All right. I'm going to plug in on this side. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 18, 27. If I get the same answer on both sides, that means I got the right answer. And here's what this means. When you go back to this problem, that means that for 3 hours, both of those people will charge $27. So you actually need to go and check it, because if I asked you on a problem, at what point would they charge the same and how much would that be? You'll be able to tell me on 3 hours they'll charge the same amount and it'll be $27. Do we understand that part? Are we following? Do we have any questions? Any confusions? Good. Let's move on. Which dog sitting service is more economical to use if you need 5 hours of service? What do? Plug in 5, right? So instead of putting 3, you're going to put 5. So 5 times 5 is 25 plus 12. 37. And the other one is 3 times 5 is 15 plus 18. What do you get? 33, right? So which one's cheaper? Darlene's, right? So we will say Darlene's. And that's it. Move on to the next one. Country Carpets charges $22 per square yard of carpeting and an additional installation fee of $100. City Carpets charges $25 per square yard for the same carpeting and an additional installation of $70. So it'll be similar to the other one. Write and solve an equation to find a number of square yards of carpeting for which the total cost charged by the two companies will be the same. Another keyword, the same. This tells me I have to set them equal to each other. So what is the equation for Country Carpets? What about the other one? So I'm going to bring those over here and put them together. So 22x plus 100 equals to 25 plus 70. So again, our first step says to combine, right? Combine variables. And that automatically tells me I have to put all the x's together. And I want them on the left side, right? So, yes, because it's positive, so I'm going to put negative 25x. This is inverse operation. I cross this out because they cancel each other out. And I'm going to notice how I'm going to get a negative here. You have positive 22, which is 22 girls and 25 boys, right? I end up with 3 boys. Oh, I forgot the plus. Plus 100. You need to be very good with your negatives, guys, with your integers. Otherwise, you're going to get all this wrong. So don't worry about it. It looks crazy, but we're good. Bring down that 70. And then the next step says to either add or subtract. That's all you can do. What is this equation doing at this point? It's adding 100, right? So what do? You subtract 100 to both sides. And you have integers right there, and it's perfectly fine. Negative x equals negative 30, right? We have more boys than girls, so you usually have boys left over. So the third step says you either multiply or divide. It's multiplying, so I must divide, right? By negative 3, negative 3. It equals positive 10. And if you forget, look at this poster that I put over here a while back. And it says if the signs are the same, whenever you multiply or divide only. Only when you multiply or divide. In other words, only during the third step. If the signs are the same, then you must get a positive answer. But if the signs are different, then you get a negative answer. And that works all the time. Do we understand that part? If you ever forget, I want to see your heads. Look up over there. So the answer is 10. And to see if we did it right, we go over here and we put 22 times 10, which is 220, plus 100, that's 320, correct? 25 times 10, that's 250, plus 70, that is 320 as well. So we got the same answer on both. That means we did it correct. Always check your answer. And again, the reason being is that the next question might ask you, what is the value? Then you already did it. So it says, blah, blah, blah. Well, it would be at how many? Wait, what does the X represent again? What does it represent? The square yards. The square yards. So it'll be for 10 square yards. For 10 square yards, they will cost the same. But what is that cost? How much will they pay? 320, right? Now the next one. Mr. Shu wants to hire one of the 2 carpet companies to install carpeting in his basement. Is he more likely to hire country carpets or city carpets? Why do you think it's city? How do you know? No, 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 no. Hang on. We're not doing by hour. We're going by square yard. I want you to think logically. Hang on. Go ahead. What are you talking about? Oh my goodness. Which one will be cheaper of the 2 carpeting companies? I want you not to think, hang on. It is not about the name of the company. It's what the cost is. I'm going to move on. I'll move on. All right. So, hey, I want you to think critically on this part. A basement. How much square yards of carpet could you possibly have in a basement? Would you have more than 10 square yards? That's my point generally. You could, right? It could have more than 10 square yards, right? Because if it's well, if it's only 3 square yards, that's not very much. Well, it will be probably about this size of the room. Because 3 times 3 will be 9 square yards, right? Um, at 10 square yards, they pay the same. How do you know which one will be cheaper if you have more space, more square yards? How would you do it? What do you plug in? What number? No, we already know what 10 is, and they're equal there. Think critically. How can I figure out which one is cheaper if I have more than 10 square yards? Thank you. Just plug in 11, see which one is cheaper, because they'll change. At that point, they're equal at 10. That is the only point where they're equal, though. So at 11, it will tell me which one's cheaper. Try that on your own. Go. All right, listen up. Somebody said before at the beginning that city carpet was cheaper because they saw 70 as a down fee and it's only 25 per square yard. But somebody just told me country carpet is actually cheaper. Let's plug it in. So 22 times 11 plus 100. What do you get for this one? 342. And then 25 times 11 plus 70. What do you get? 45. $3. I want you to understand that the lines for these two, if you were to graph it, they will look kind of like this. Do not lose me, guys. Do not lose me because you're going to come back. I promise you. It's going to be on your signature exam. Do not lose me on this one. Another way to find out is if you were to graph it, the lines would kind of look like, one would be like that, and the other one would be like this. Notice, this is where they meet. That's 10. Notice how A at the beginning is cheaper, right? And B at the beginning, in other words, before on under 10 square yards, is more expensive because of that high installation fee. But once they meet at that point where they're equal, they actually go opposite directions. B stays cheaper, actually starts going cheaper, and A starts increasing. That makes a difference because if I asked you on the test, I want to install carpet in a small closet, which would be a better deal? A or B? A. A. Because under 10 square yards, A is a lot cheaper. But over 10 square yards, A becomes more expensive. Think about those things. Please think about it. I'm going to put that on the test for sure. Yes, because a basement is generally bigger than that.
Like closet's little.
And a closet's smaller, right? You don't need that much square footage. I did say a small closet, though.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. So we explained that one. Do not lose me, guys. Okay, some of you are like, this is so difficult. Well, it's not really. I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to do the first one. 2 less than 3 times a number is x, right? Is the same. What is about the same? As the number x plus 10. That wasn't hard, was it? Just you have to translate it into numbers basically. So let's solve it. And I'm going to change the, oh, actually I'll keep it where it is. Plus 3x, I will. It wasn't, it was already going to be on there. So again, I'll combine the variables. That goes away. I get negative 2 plus 2, yeah, plus 2x. Was this negative? No, it was positive. 2x, right? Equals 10. Then what is the step to add or subtract, right? This subtracting, this negative, so I must add. Oops, why did I do that? I get 12. This goes away. 2x. What do I do? By 2. Divide by 2. x equals 6. So the answer is x equals 6. And you would just write this and put it right here somewhere. And you need to do the same thing for the other two. So let's read the other one. It says a number, x, right? Because we don't know. What you don't know is always x. A number means like it could be any number. That means that we don't know. It's increased. What does it mean increased? By 4. And it's the same equals to 19 minus 2 times a number, right? That's what we got. X plus 4 equals 19 minus 2x. Solve it. I'll do it over here. Combine the variables. So you get 3x plus 4 equals 19, right? Subtract this. 3x equals 15. Divide by 3. What am I doing? X equals, what is 15 divided by 3? This girl said 23. Well, you can go back in the video. I don't have much time. What did I lose you though? So hang on, it was x plus 4, right? Equals 19 minus 2x. Are we good there? Is anybody lost at this point? So the first step is to combine the variables, right? CV, combine variables. So I have to put them all on the left side. This is negative, so what's the opposite? Positive. I add 2x, right, to both sides. Is anybody lost? Are we good? So we get 3x right here, right? 2x plus 1x is 3x plus 4 equals 19. Second step is to add or subtract. What is it doing? It's adding 4. What do I do? Subtract 4. That goes away. 3x equals 15, right? 19 minus 4 is 15. Third step says to multiply or divide, right? It's multiplying, so what do I do? Divide by 3, right? That goes away, and we end up with 5. Yes. Kayla, how we doing? Kind of. Got it. All right, so we can say that what's right there. The next one, again, it's just words. That's what it's the thing. They want you to translate words into numbers and put it together. It's not a big deal. So 20 less than 8 times a number, which is x, is the same as 15 more than the number. Are we good? So 20 minus 8x equals 15 plus x. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Because it says less or more than. So 20, what was it? All right. Yes. So the first thing is to combine the variables, right? Positive, so it's negative. If they didn't solve it, then they get it wrong. It is not 9x. Look, 8 boys and 1 boy. Do we have any girls? They're all boys, right? So I have 9 boys minus 9x. That's what we get. Equals 15. So again, the second step is to add or subtract. Is a 20 being added or subtracted? Think about it. Is it negative or positive? Positive, right? Because it's positive, that means we subtracted. Careful. I'm going to throw a lot of those in. I need you to be careful with those things. Because a lot of kids think that it's 20 negative. And I'm like, it's not negative 20. If it was negative 20, it would be a negative sign over here. And it's not. So there will be a negative sign behind the 20. And there isn't. So that gives me 0. I get negative 9x equals, what do you get here? Negative 5. I hope I did this right. So you divide by -9. X equals what? 4? 5 divided by 9 is 4? Hang on. I may have. All right, big mistake. Let me go back to here, the beginning. There. It's 20 less. It's like, so it's going to be the opposite. It's 8 minus 20 equals, what was it? That. So now we can combine them again. And you get 7x, right? Minus 20 equals 15. It is recording. I just did all this wrong. Plus 20. Yeah, I've been recording. See, my recording. Yeah, I am. So plus 20. This makes a lot more sense. Oh, what was I doing? Okay, so I get 35. Right? Now it makes a lot more sense. Divide by 7. X equals 5. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? Okay. So I apologize. Sometimes, rarely I make mistakes, but but when I do, I recognize it, right? What? Yes. All right, guys. Shh. Silence. You will have homework. Let me see if it's on IXL or the book. All right, so it'll be on your book. Yeah, I'm doing the most. This is the homework. Yeah, not yet. It's in the back of your homework. Oh, kiddos, those of you who are at home, listening to this video, it's in the back of the homework that you did today. That way you don't have to copy it down. Just look at the homework. If you threw it away, you're going to have to write it down. But if you did not throw it away the way you're supposed to and keep it behind your binder, then that's where your homework is. Ciao, ciao.